right, perfect. So it is Wednesday once again. My name is Carlos Navia. Welcome to the Wednesday weekly learning session for local bartending school. I have been a bartender for many, many years in several states and 2 different countries. I've been working with local bartending schools since about 8 years ago, for 7 or 8 years now when I lived in Florida. Continued to do it since I moved back here. Haven't seen a lot of people or any people in person since COVID, but a lot of one-on-ones online. I do this at 3 p.m. Pacific time, at 6 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday. And if you've been through the courses, you might recognize me from some of the online videos that are in the course. So it was good November. I hope everybody had a great Halloween. I hope everybody was very safe, and had a safe time. Unfortunately, my favorite football team is the Raiders. And unfortunately, one of their players had an incident this morning in Las Vegas that cost someone their life. Very drunk, doing 156 miles an hour. So I just want to kind of throw it out there that, there's no reason not to Uber. There's no reason not to, Lyft. Leave your car there. It's funny is when I bartended in Scottsdale, Arizona, the cab policies in that area had a thing where if they took you home from a bar to your house, you could ask for a coupon to get a free ride back to your car the next day, because they didn't want that to be a concern of anybody, because that was a big concern for them in that area. And, it's really sad and unfortunate, because that's the easiest city I've ever been in. I haven't been to the Northeast to get a cab is Las Vegas, and you definitely have the money to do with it. So, it's unfortunate, but it does happen. I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going to talk about happier things, but, take a Lyft, please get an Uber. I feel like I could do a whole class about DUIs. Only bad thing is I've had police friends in the past, so it wouldn't be, I don't know. It would be a weird class. So, what I want to talk about today, most popular drink in the United States, margarita. Everybody likes margaritas. Everybody has margaritas. They're great for every situation, and pretty much any bar in the country is serving them at some point. When we start talking about margaritas, first thing we'll talk about is, of course, tequila. And who doesn't like tequila? And, I've talked about kind of recently, a lot of celebrities have a lot of different tequilas coming out. And, I'm not going to go through those or list them all. You can find them. It's a lot of different ones. I have not tried them all. Only so much time in the world. But, tequila is made from blue agaves. They grow on this soil from red volcanic rocks in Jalisco, Mexico, where the city of Tequila is located, thus the namesake. Mexico law allows them to make tequila in other states than Jalisco now, in some small, whatever approved areas that are designated in certain regions. So some other states do make tequila, but it is Mexican. It can only come from Mexico. It is controlled by the Mexican government. They make it from blue agaves. They make mezcal from other types of agaves, up to 40 different types of agaves. And the process goes back to 250 AD, back to the Aztecs. They were fermenting and extracting the juice and fermenting it from agaves even way back then. The modern process, though, to make tequila comes from the 1600s. So you have an agave. It is like a succulent, very similar to an aloe vera plant. You can dig up what they call the bulb, the heart of it, or the piña, as they refer to it. You roast it, you extract the juice from it, you put it into a barrel or a stainless steel or a wooden barrel, and you let it ferment. Ferments for a couple days, then you distill it at least twice by Mexican law, put it into barrels and age it, and bam, then we have our Blanco tequila. The different colors and the different levels of it just depend on how long it's aged. I was taught way back that it was always aged in old whiskey barrels. I don't know how true that is today. For a lot of the higher end ones, I think that was more of a cheap kind of way to make cheap tequila in the past. And I don't think a lot of the high end tequilas do stuff like that anymore. I'll talk a little bit more about cheap tequila as we round this out. But you take the juice, you distill it, and then you age it. So the Blancos might stay in a barrel for a very short time, 1 month, maybe 3 months, takes on a little bit of the flavor, but not too much. We talk about your reposados, which means rested tequila. You're talking about 6 months, maybe a year, that it's going to stay in the barrel. It's going to get that color. It's going to get that flavor out of the barrel. When you talk about your añejos, 1 to 3 years generally. depending on the type, depending on their process and how they do it. It's going to have more flavor. It's going to have, more color to it. It's going to be a little bit darker. So similar to whiskey or rum or like anything else, we're aging a barrel. It's taking on the flavor. It's taking on the color. First distiller, San Pedro Sanchez de Talga, had his first distillery in the city that is now Tequila in Jalisco, Mexico, which is where it comes from. They call them the humidors, the people that harvest the piñas, that harvest the hearts and then roast them. If you're getting a worm in it or a scorpion in it, it is not tequila. It is definitely mezcal, and it is a gimmick. And yes, I have eaten the worm. I was 16. I was full of mezcal. Someone dared me to. I did it. I was always told as a kid it's supposed to have some certain type of increased libido effect. And I was hanging out with a bunch of guy football players. Thank God it did not work, is all I can say on that one. It didn't happen, so thank you. Sorry, making myself laugh. Scorpion, haven't tried the scorpion yet. So, mezcal's a little different. It's smokier, it has a smoky flavor to it, and it just has to do with the difference in how they roast the hearts. They're going to do it for tequila in clay ovens. They're going to do it for mezcal in open fire pits. And you can see pictures online of the humidors just poking the hearts into the fire pits on the open roasted coals and roasting them. Gives it that nice smoky taste, that nice smoky flavor. So here's the thing. And here's the big thing about tequila and why I feel that there are tons of tequila horror stories that you hear out there. By Mexican law, it only has to be 51% blue agave to be called tequila. And it can technically be 49% anything else, which is the cheapest thing they can find to distill. So if you're drinking tequila, drink something that says 100% agave. If you get a Jose Cuervo bottle and you look at it, it says made from blue agave, which is true. 51% of it is made from blue agave. Get a label that says 100% blue agave. Funny side note, I had a bottle of Jose Cuervo 1800 out here that says 100% that I intended on using today. It has water in it that looks much like this. That kind of looks like tequila. I leave this stuff outside. I live next to a university of 25,000 kids. And I knew it was only a matter of time before one day someone looked over the fence, saw these bottles and thought that they might be real liquor. Came out to use my tequila bottle today and it's not in the backyard. All the other ones are left. I'm still doing good. However, I'm specifically missing a Jose Cuervo 1800 bottle. The only thing that had a lid on it, so maybe that was their choice. I just wish I could have been a fly on the wall when they opened it up and found out it was yellow water. So I'm going to be using some other bottles for the demonstration today. So that's the big thing of tequila. 100% agave. You're going to feel a lot better if you drink it. You're not going to have a huge, horrible hangover. You're not going to get up feeling great. You're not going to be like, hey, let's go out and run a 5K today, but you're going to feel better. The other thing is, like, when I was growing up, definitely late 80s, 90s, when I was getting into drinking, tequila was just a thing to shoot to get drunk. And that was it. And it's not that anymore. It has very much evolved into a high class beverage that people like to sip straight, either on the rocks, with a little bit of lime. It's not just the old thing was salt, suck it, slam it, or lick it, slam it, suck it, because you're trying to mask the taste of it to make it go down just to get drunk. And it's not that anymore. It's definitely come to a high level, alcohol, holding its own with the high end, whiskeys and the high end brandies that are out there right now. So when we talk about margaritas and the history of the margarita, it first kind of evolved from a daisy, which is a sour drink. You've got some lemon juice, sugar, maybe a little bit of soda water in there, and brandy, or people a lot of time made them with gin. It's a prohibition drink. It's one of those drinks made to cover up the taste of, bathtub gin and very nasty stuff that people were drinking at those times. And the first kind of recipes appeared as a tequila daisy in like the 30s that started coming out. Grab some water. Recipe first appeared in a 1937 book called Cafe Royale Cocktail Book, but it was called a picador, but it was the exact same recipe, which is tequila, orange liqueur, lime juice. But sans the salted rim. So I think that was kind of the real touch that put it in a different level, kind of made it a different drink. It's funny when I looked at the history that there's a lot of different stories, because I grew up in California and I grew up with one story going to one place in Baja California as a kid. But, I'm not going to go through them all in detail. Jose Cuervo claims it was invented in 1938 in honor of a showgirl named Lorita La Rosa. There is a Dallas debutante woman that claims she invented it in 1948 at her Acapulco vacation home. There is a gentleman that claims he invented it in 1942 in Juarez, which is Pancho Morales. And I only mention the name because there's a musician, bongo player that used to play with King Curtis and the Kingpins, old band right before my time, Pancho Morales. Anyway, there's also a report it was invented, in 1948 in Galveston, Texas, and they claim it as well. So the two that kind of relate to where I grew up in Southern California. I grew up going to Mexico. My dad took trips there. He owned a travel agency, took bus tours there. If I had any opportunity to ditch school and go on bus tour as assistant tour guide and eat shrimp and hang out with a bunch of old people drinking tequila and getting drunk, I took that opportunity. So I was told one story, but this other one I think probably rings truer. Carlos Danny Herrera at Ranchos Las Glorias in Baja California at a restaurant halfway between Tijuana, which is at the border of California, and Rosarito Beach, which is right where Ensenada is, which is where I would go a lot of times. But I was always taken to a place called Husong's Cantina, and I'm going to throw up the picture of it because I've been there many times on what I can only describe as a pilgrimage. It is still there. It has been there for a very, very long time. I think it is the oldest bar in Baja California, and I did try to find the oldest picture of it I could. They do have other locations now in Las Vegas where they have expanded to. It's dirt on the floor. It is a true margarita, just tequila, orange liqueur, salt on the rim, fresh lime juice squeezed into there. Bartender there, Carlos Orozco, named it after a patron named Margarita Hinky Cessna, who's a half German who lived there in the town and was the patron of the place. So that's kind of where it comes from. And I think those last two stories are probably closest to the truth if we have to, really think about it. I did look up what the International Bartenders Association says is a true margarita: 10 parts tequila to 4 parts orange liqueur to 3 parts lime juice. And it's very, I don't know if there are any math geniuses out there because I can't do that one in my head. So what I do a little demonstration here, don't hold me to that. That's about as close as I could get. I'm going to get as close as I can get to that. But have been to Husong. It's a fun place. It's a good time. They do claim to have made it, down there. And it's just a fun drink and people have a good time with it. So, you can do some different things with it. You can do some different things with it, and have a lot of fun with it. I didn't want to bring my blender out. I dragged the blender out before. It's coming into the season of not blender, so I didn't want to drag my blender out and talk about frozen margaritas. I think the biggest thing I want to say, if you're kind of doing frozen margaritas and you're working with stuff like that, make it thick. Anything that's frozen should be thick. It doesn't have to be like a McDonald's milkshake where you can't get it up the straw, but it should have a good thickness to it. The straw should stand up when you put it in there. The other thing I'll say is that frozen margarita mixes are designed so that you only have to use tequila and not orange liqueur. They're made with an orange essence. So you just have to put tequila in the blender. You don't have to put any triple sec or anything like that. If you go to the grocery store or the liquor store where you live and you're looking at mixes, my favorite of any brand is called Master of the Mixes, but I only really use their sour mix or margarita mix, so I can't speak for all of their mixes necessarily. If I go to the shelf and I look, there is margarita mix and there is sour mix. The difference between the two is the margarita mix has that orange essence. So I don't have to use triple sec when I'm making blended margaritas. I only have to use tequila alone to make margaritas at home. That's kind of the idea. Once again, I can't speak for every brand, but in general, that's the difference you're going to see between them and kind of the idea. So all you have to do is throw tequila into that blender. So the real recipe, the Husong's recipe that I was always taught is just that. Tequila, orange liqueur, fresh lime juice in a glass with rocks, salted rim. Now, original recipe, and when I've moved down to Mexico, I was not familiar with this guy, but this is Cointreau, which is the Mexican version of Cointreau. Kind of sounds like it. The bottle kind of looks like it. That is definitely the intention and the idea. So this is the original orange liqueur that was used to make margaritas, is our Cointreau here. However, I have my Cointreau bottle, so that is going to be my orange liqueur here as we talk about margaritas. So here's the thing. Original recipe, just tequila, lime juice, orange liqueur. But in the United States, that's not what we do. In the United States, what we're going to do, we're going to grab a rocks glass just like this, and I'm going to drop my scoop on the ground. And I'm going to get my scoop off the ground. I'm going to rinse it out. And remember that these are not real drinks. This is not real liquor. No one's actually drinking these, as I do not sanitize it. So just going to go ahead, throw it in the glass. If I was at the bar and I have something I made look like tequila, although it's not a tequila bottle, and I can use my clear for my triple sec, I'm going to do a single pour at one time. I'm going to try to do 1.5 ounces here of, my tequila. I'm just going to do a 1/2 ounce of triple sec, but I do it at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have that in there. I have my pour. Now, fresh lime juice is what the traditional recipe calls for, but in most bars from here, we're just going to take some sweet and sour mix out of a jug like this. We're going to fill it up with sweet and sour mix. People will then throw maybe some Rose's lime juice in there, which is fine. It's sugar lime syrup, if that's what you want to throw in there. I prefer to put a little bit of fresh lime juice in there. So I'm going to grab a lime. I'm just going to squeeze a little lime in there, just like that. Now, I didn't put salt on it, and I didn't put salt on it for a reason. I think margaritas are one of the few cocktails where a little shake goes a long way. Most cocktails are just going to mix themselves in the glass. If I have a bottle in one hand, I have a bar gun in the other hand, I'm pouring at the same time. Or I have a bottle in one hand, I have a juice bottle in the other hand, I'm pouring at the same time. It's mixing itself. It's not that big of a deal. It's really easy. But this drink takes a little bit of a mix, and it usually gives it a little bit of a frothy top, a little bit of a foaminess. So it doesn't take anything for me to just give it 2 shakes, pop it out. Now from here, I can let it drip. And I can kind of rim the edges and just go straight into here and get some salt on there without having to use a lime or anything else. Pour my margarita back into there. Garnish it with a fresh lime, straw, napkin, bam, you're ready to go. And didn't take me very much time. I didn't have to do a lot, but it will make a lot better drink. It really will make a difference in it. One of my favorite things is when, people come up to the bar and they order 2 margaritas, and I put up 2 glasses with no salt and I fill them up with ice, and I start building the margaritas, and one of them goes, "Hey, we asked for salt." And I just nod. And then I go to give it a little shake. And the other person grabs that person and goes, "Just shut up. Just let them go. Just leave them alone." Because they're not used to getting just that little effort and just that little bit you put into it. But it really does make a better cocktail. Fortunately, me, the first general manager I worked for, loved margaritas, and he taught me that. And he taught me the difference because we sat down and taste tested and tried stuff and had a good time. So give it that little shake. It's really easy to do. Bam. There's your regular house margarita you're going to get in most places in the United States in 2021. Just that easy. I'm going to put this guy off the side because he's not that colorful. But you can have a lot of fun with them. You can do a lot of different things with them, even besides just frozen margaritas, or a regular house margarita like that. I tried not to go through too many weird things or crazy things that you would find out there in the world. Um, I more tried to look for a couple things that could be done easily in bars, stuff that you could find generally around instead of some of the crazy stuff. I liked this one and I think it was cool. So I put up the picture of it. Yeah, and you know what's funny, Monty, on that question? Let me close down, make sure I got there. Yeah, is I worked in dozens of bars. I think in Mexico was the only time I had a real margarita glass that we used. Canberra Pines Lodge here in California, that. Madonna Inn, bucket glass. I'm going to use some of these tulip glasses because in Florida you would use a hurricane or something like this to do it. It's the only time I've really seen them is when I bartended in Mexico. But if you go to your places like, and especially these type of places, when you talk about corporate places like your Chili's, Applebee's, TGI Fridays, places like that, you're definitely going to see this type of glasses because they have a very large drink menu and it's very important to have the right glassware. I never worked at TGI Fridays, but I have worked with a girl who was on their Flair bartending team, and I dropped it. She was 5 feet tall and the perfect person to do Flair. I am 6'4" and not someone that needs to throw stuff above my head. So she was cool. She was a lot of fun, but it was the way they train people, according to her, was very specific. And I talked to some of the people working, one of them, Destin. You had to know your glass. And when servers wanted a frozen drink, they had to bring the glass down and set it down on their ticket. And you didn't grab the blender and start to pour it until they put their glass down. And that, so it didn't sit there and melt, was kind of the idea. But the server had to know the glass. And if the server put the wrong glass down, bartender didn't even tell him, hey, that's the wrong glass, which I thought was screwed up. Just ignore it. Why can't I get my drink? And manager would have to come and go, like, that's the wrong glass. And I understand they were busy, but that's not, it sounds like where you work, Buddy, it sounds like you don't have, like, you guys work pretty good together. You have a good flow. So, I have seen like that situation, but no, I don't have, I almost stopped at Dollar Tree and got some, but I didn't. I used to have them, the ones with the, what do they call them, cactus stems, like that. So go to my picture. So understand, completely understand. It better work. It better work okay then. Exactly. Sorry, you make me laugh today. All right. I'm not going to read it out loud for the video. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with the breakfast martini that someone had come up with not too long ago. I think it's kind of a newer concept. So someone kind of came up with this one, the breakfast margarita. So if we were just making our regular traditional margarita with our tequila, orange liqueur, fresh lime juice, we put in a little agave syrup and some orange marmalade. And if you're working at a place that serves breakfast, serves toast, bagels, anything like that, there's a chance they have some orange marmalade lying around in small packets. One or two of those, might want to test it out first to make a drink like that. No, it doesn't sound appealing to some people, definitely, but I definitely know a sect that would enjoy something like that in the morning, watching football or something like that. The other picture I'm going to show, and we get these out where I live. I'm not sure if people get them anywhere, but blood oranges. You can do some great things by just adding some of this fresh blood orange juice into a margarita and making a very colorful garnish, like a wheel like that. It really, it looks cool and it looks dark and dangerous, but it has a great sweet taste to it, which kind of adds to the margarita. So, as well as being colorful, it does really add something, add a great taste to it, that kind of different flavor of orange that you get from blood oranges. To show one more picture too. I think I got one more. So I saw this one and I thought, well, maybe you need some fresh ginger to make this. They called it a la mexique, if I can try to say it right, kind of a mango ginger margarita. But instead of using fresh ginger, they were putting in some Domaine de Canton, which is this guy here. So it's a ginger liqueur. You see it in a lot of bars. It's pretty common. So that makes it an easier thing to make. If you have Domaine de Canton and you have some mango puree, you can do an ounce of tequila, half ounce of the Domaine, half ounce of mango puree, half ounce of fresh lime juice, maybe a little bit of agave syrup in there too. Shake it up, strain it into a fresh rocks glass, maybe garnish it, with a little piece of mango, a little piece of ginger if you have something like that. They have, in that picture, they had a little bit of shaved dark chocolate on the top. Nice touch if you have that available. What I will say about agave syrup too in the margaritas, and this is personal opinion, okay? This is the editorial part of this. I don't like it. It's not a sweet drink. It's not intended to be a sweet drink. It has a little hint of sweetness from the orange liqueur. Putting agave syrup in there, making it sweeter, I don't know. If you want a sweet drink, order a sweet drink. It's a sour drink. It's always been a sour drink. Order it sour. But you'll see a lot of places using that. That is very popular now. A little agave syrup in there is pretty normal. So that was our regular house well margarita. But you're definitely going to get a lot of people that don't want just the house liquor, don't want the well margarita. They want a Cadillac margarita. They want a top shelf margarita. So, we're kind of going to do the same thing. We're going to go through the same process. We're going to try not to drop stuff. I'm having a bad day dropping things. I apologize. Okay, so if we're talking about a top shelf margarita, we're going to use a good liqueur. In most places, if I have Don Julio Silver or I have Patron Silver, I'm definitely going to go with that. If we want to do it nice and we want to give it a good shake before we put it out over the rocks, I can go ahead and grab a mixing tin, put a little bit of ice in there. So we're going to pretend, because this is clear, this is very good clear tequila here. I'm going to do 1.5 ounces of it here in my jigger, 5, 6. And I would definitely use Cointreau in a real situation here as my orange liqueur here with my drink. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I'm going to do just 1/2 ounce of that there to give it that little orange flavor. Now I'm going to come back and do some fresh lime juice here in my squeezer right here into my tin. And I'm going to do a whole lime, which should be 1 ounce of lime juice. Once again, 1/2 a lemon, 1/2 a lime is about 1/2 ounce. It is pretty darn accurate. And we're going to grab it. We're going to give it a nice shake. Get that mixed up really good right there. I'm also really trying to hit it hard. I want to crush some of that ice in there as well. I'm going to pop it out. I'm going to go ahead and grab my glass here. We're going to give this guy a salted rim as well. I don't have a sponge and hole set up here, but all you have to do is really hit it with a lime, get it into some salt. I'm going to have my salted rim there. I'm going to grab a different lime to garnish it. Go ahead and fill this up with ice. And if I take this guy and strain it out there, we have a nice Cadillac margarita, but it's not done yet. Because in a lot of places, people like a little Grand Marnier topper on there. And remember, the difference between Grand Marnier and any other orange liqueur that we're using is that Grand Marnier is mixed with cognac, so it has a little bit of a darker hue. So I'm going to find something that might look like a little Grand Marnier topper there. I have my lime garnish. I'm going to put a couple small straws in there. And I have my Cadillac margarita with my little Grand Marnier floater or Grand Marnier topper on there. So those are pretty simple. Those you see in most bars. I think what you don't see in a lot of places that I found is very cool and you can have some fun with is when you when you do, serve a margarita up like a martini. And it can be done very easily, just like making any other martini. So I'm going to grab my scoop here. And of course, first thing I'm going to do is chill my glass, put some water in it, and set it off to the side. Now I'm going to grab my mixing tin here, throw a little ice in there. I'm going to go ahead and do my 1.5 ounces of tequila. like that. Gonna do my half ounce of, no, you know what? Instead of doing my half ounce of regular orange liqueur like that, if we want to have some fun, let's do a half ounce of blue curacao. So all I'm doing is substituting that for the triple sec. It's got the flames, same flavor. The only difference it has is the color of it. It's blue. I'm going to put some sour mix in here with it. I'm going to squeeze a little fresh lime juice in here like that. Go ahead and give that a shake. Give a little underhand shake. Get that nice and mixed up. Come back here. And once again, we're going to give it the traditional salt rim here. So I can do by just giving it a nice little bit of the lime. Get it in there just like that. And what we end up with is a delicious cold margarita with a nice kind of greenish blue hue to it. Looks like that. Little shake, a little more comes out. Blue curacao would have made it a little better in real life, but you kind of get the idea. I'm just using water here. Oh, almost forgot, bar napkin. And set it out. Serve it. You kind of get a blue margarita or greenish blue kind of aqua margarita. So the other one that's green and you can kind of have some fun with is if you have, and I've tried to make something that looks like Midori melon liqueur. You know, Midori makes a great melon margarita. So I'm going to use this glass here and we'll give that a go as well and see how this turns out. So if I use some clear tequila, 1.5 ounces, and I go ahead and do an half ounce here of my orange liqueur. Like that. And we're going to do a half ounce of my faux Midori, and we'll see how well that works color-wise for me. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little splash of sour mix in there. And once again, my sour mix is just water as well. It's not real sour mix. Going to squeeze some fresh lime in there. Give it a nice little shake just to get it mixed up, not too much. Go ahead and grab my glass. You know what? This one's got a little sweeter side, so we'll go ahead and give this one a sugared rim. Just like that. On there. Fill this up. Get a nice strain here. Like straw. Got our napkin. Bam, you have your Midori melon margarita. Just kind of a little take. You know, a little different twist on it. It has a little melon flavor to it. Kind of goes nice, complements it. You know, just another one you can try, another one you can do. So, how am I getting on time? Doing well on time. So, I wanted to show you one more. I'm gonna move some of these out of the way. I wanted to show you one more that I thought was kind of interesting. And that's the way that people do it here at the country club at San Luis Obispo Country Club. So, you know, one of the biggest trends and biggest things kind of going on, and I don't know if it's fading or not, I think it's still probably holding pretty steady, is handcrafted cocktails, you know, doing everything by hand, fresh juices, which means we're just not using any pre-made juices or anything made in factories or anything like that. So when we talk about doing a handcrafted cocktail, this is exactly how they do a margarita at San Luis Obispo Country Club, and I'll show you guys real quick. So I'm going to reuse a glass here. That I have right here. So I'm going to do this in a pint glass so you can kind of see what I'm doing as opposed to my mixing tin. Actually, let's get one that's not full. Like this. So I would take a pint glass. Someone comes into the bar at San Luis Obispo Country Club. They order a house margarita. First thing I do is a piece of orange, 2 pieces of lemon, 4 pieces of lime. So that is what I'm going to start with. And that basically is going to be my margarita mix right there. It's just going to be fresh squeezed. I'm going to take my muddle and I'm just going to give it a nice good squeeze and mash all that fruit down in there. So I'm getting the lemon juice. I'm getting some lime juice, which is basically your sweet and sour. I'm getting some orange in there because they don't put triple sec in them. Well, I think some bartenders have in the past, but the orange is supposed to replicate the triple sec. Some people order it without the orange as well. And that's it. I have made margarita mix in essence, fresh from scratch. From there, I just fill it up with ice. Go ahead, and it's a private country club. They get a 2-ounce pour, as opposed to most places that only get a 1-ounce pour. So we're going to give them 2 ounces here. Go ahead and shake that guy up. I'm going to come back with our rocks glass. Yeah, we'll say they want a salted rim. Might as well. I've got all this stuff out here. We'll go ahead and give them their salted rim. Like that. And get some fresh ice. I'm going to grab my double strain so that the members don't get any of the pulp or any of that other stuff that's in there that I mashed up, because they don't like that stuff and they're not going to get any of it in their cocktail. And that would be it. Put that in there. Maybe top it off with a little more ice, like that there. Yep. You have your San Luis Obispo, California Country Club House Margarita, squeezed fresh to order for every member. And that's just kind of the way they do it there, and that's how it turns out. And you will see people putting orange juice in there. That's pretty common, a splash of orange juice in there. That is generally referred to as a Texas style margarita. So if anyone comes up, orders a Texas style margarita, you're just making your regular house margarita like I showed you, but you're putting a little splash of OJ in there, as well to give it that little more orange flavor with a little bit of fresh orange juice. So one more I want to do, partially to have some fun and partially because I still have blackberries lying around from last week and whatever I was doing with those last week. So rinse this out right. A couple things people are mashing into margaritas now. You can mash in fresh fruit. People are putting different kinds of herbs and stuff that grows in the garden in there to flavor them. Basil, rosemary, stuff like that is pretty common. The other thing is peppers. Jalapenos, serrano peppers. If you're bold and dangerous, habaneros, but watch out. They will come back. They will get you. So, a lot of different kind of fruit can be put into them. Mint, I've seen kind of mojito versions, basically tequila type mojito versions with mint and sugar and, different kinds of fruit and stuff like that. Once again, it can be done pretty easily. If I just go ahead and grab my pint glass here. See, I might need some more limes here. I'm gonna grab some limes here to put in there. And then I'm just gonna grab some fresh berries to put in there as well. These are blackberries. We're gonna make a little blackberry cocktail here. So I've got my limes in there. I've got my blackberries in there. I'm just gonna give those a mash and put that together. So I've got my fresh lime juice. And I've got the berries that I'm flavoring it with. That looks pretty good. Now, once again, I'm going to go ahead and throw some ice in here. There's my scoop. Hope it didn't drop anything. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and add my tequila, my 1.5 ounces. I'm going to use clear tequila this time. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and do my orange liqueur. And just like that. So I've got my lime juice. I've got my fresh fruit, but I'm also going to go ahead and put some sweet and sour mix in there and just cut it a little because I'm not trying to make this one too strong. I'm not trying to make it like a real traditional margarita. I'm going to go ahead and pop that stuff in here, give it a nice shake up there, mix it there for just a second. I'm going to take my tulip glass, my fancy glass. Since this one's on the sweeter side, let's go ahead and give it a little bit. Do I not have a knife out here? I'm going to go ahead and give it a sugar rim. Like that. Gonna get some fresh ice over here. Just like that. Nice. You got a nice blackberry color to it there. Good, nice fruit in there. I'm gonna give it a straw here. I'm gonna go ahead and get a lime twist like this. Give it a little spritz with the lime twist. Then I'm gonna grab some blackberries. Or cooperate. I'm gonna take a pick. Let's start with it through one end of the lime. I'm gonna put a blackberry in the middle. I'm gonna take it, fold it around the other side. So that kind of engulfs the blackberry. So I have the lime in there to represent the lime juice. Have the fresh blackberry there as a garnish. Has a nice sugar rim because it's a berry type sweet margarita in my tulip glass, ready to go. Bam, beautiful. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Is there any questions I could answer today? I feel like I can't hold on to stuff today. My hands. All right. So thank you very much. Thank you, Monty, for being here. Always a pleasure. If there's no questions about anything, I'm not sure. I'm weighing a couple ideas for next week, so I haven't really thought about what the topic next week is going to be. But I do have a video I'm going to try to put out on my Facebook page either later today or later tomorrow. I'm having some fun back here and doing some different drinks, just like a short demonstration. So you're all welcome to check that out as well. Otherwise, have a great week. Be safe. Take an Uber. Take a Lyft. For the love of God, don't be Henry Ruggs. So thank you. Have a great week. And I will see you next week.